Since I burnt myself out on FromSoft games, I'm going to be switching things up for just a little bit. So today's the day we figure out if I can beat Parasite Eve with only clubs. I've only beaten the game once before, and the combat involves a lot of running around with proper positioning. Even while using guns as intended, some of these fights can still be a little punishing. I don't think this will be a super hard challenge, but I feel like it's going to be annoying with some very long grinding sessions. And spoiler warnings for anyone who hasn't played Parasite Eve, but either way, let's begin. We play as 25-year-old NYPD Officer Aya Bray. It was the night before Christmas, and the evening begins with us watching an opera version of Hamlet on stage. The opera singer hits the high note, and instead of the glass dildo shattering in my ass, everyone bursts into flames. I fucking hate when that happens. But the crowd is loving it, just looking around like, I don't think this is part of the show. Once Aya realizes this isn't a Deftones concert, she bumps her crappy date out the way, then passes me the controls. I switched over to the Turkey Club, then take center stage. This will allow me to quickly explain how the combat system works. When the AT meter is full, I can attack, use spells, or items. During the downtime, I'm able to move around and attempt to dodge enemy attacks. When I go in for my own attacks, it creates this dome. Anything within my domain can be selected as a target. Enemies are free to run around just like myself, and I take damage upon contact with an enemy. This first fight is a freebie, since she just stands there locked in place. Upon victory, the actress reveals her name to be Eve, then rambles on about how our bodies are communicating with each other, which causes me to start seeing visions of a little girl in a hospital. What a weird hallucination, but I did receive the heal spell afterwards, which I'll need to stay alive. Once Eve is done monologuing, she exits stage right. I followed her down this hole only to see the girl from the hospital manifested in reality. Remember that expression, if you give a rat a cookie, he'll ask for a glass of milk? And if you give him a glass of milk, he'll ask for mitochondria? You give him the mitochondria and he'll use it to go beyond his limits, evolving into a fucking monstrosity? Yeah, me either. Thankfully it dies in 2 hits. After exploring some of the rooms down here, a charred corpse begins to speak. And Aya says, "Let me call the paramedics. Ma'am, he is beyond fucking cooked. Straight up flambéed beef jerky looking ass. To hell with an ambulance, get this man a 6-path Naruto." I took a minute to read Melissa/Eve's diary. She went on and on about how she kept feeling increasingly hot. Her solution to this problem was taking dangerous amounts of immunosuppressants, which is never an okay thing to do without consulting your doctor first. After reading the diary, I catch Eve practicing In the End by Linkin Park on the grand piano. Unlike most of my viewers, she smashed that like button, pulled her floppy out, laughed about it, then squared up for a fight. And this one showed me how bad the club is really going to be. Eve moves around a lot, and obviously if she moves outside of the dome after I've selected her as a target, I'll completely miss the attack. But the solution was pretty simple. When she uses her gigantic burst attack, I need to face tank it, and heal up as needed. But the cool thing about healing is that it completely freezes combat, which lets me go toe to toe with Eve, so I just have to keep repeating the process. After that little back and forth, I have another hospital memory, this time with a doctor included. Once I snap back to reality, I pursued Eve down yet another hole, then encounter the child from the visions yet again. After some grinding and looting, I attempt to stop Eve, but she skedaddles away by transforming into Kraft's macaroni and cheese, then summons the first major boss of the game, the interior crocodile alligator. This fight's annoying. So you have 2 targets, the tail and the main body. If there's anything I've learned from my years of playing video games, it's that if a boss has multiple body parts that count as separate targets, you take those out first. Hitting the tail is very inconsistent. There was plenty of times where I was well within range, but still missed. It sucks because I'm practically up the skater's ass, the sewer within the sewer. Best I could do was keep trying. After missing a dozen or so swings, the tail is finally disabled, and we transition over to phase 2, but the inconsistency stays the same. The new isometric camera angle throws me off a little bit, but once again the best tactic is to get chest to chest, and after a few beefy whacks, the gator goes down for good. Back on the surface, Fox News tries to interview me, while Daniel delivers the meanest right hook this side of Manhattan has to offer. On Christmas Day, I reported back to Santa's workshop, then received a weapons permit as a gift because Saint Nick thinks I need a better sidearm to take on this case, not knowing that I'm already using one of the top 5 weapons in this game. Alright, so in the basement, we meet up with the elves Wayne and Torres. These 2 act as my pack mules, so I toss away the weapon permit. Back upstairs, Santa gives a press conference on the Carnegie Hall incident, mostly blaming it on drunken dwarves. Because the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, Santa sends us over to the Museum of Natural History to talk to a researcher who recently wrote up a new theory about them. And god damn, I hate this guy. He doesn't shut the fuck up. He just keeps yapping. Long story short, Dr. Hans Klomp is better than all of us, and we're just too stupid to really understand why the mitochondria is just built different. All praise the mitochondria. Kneel before its power, for it giveth energy and ATP. Do you like living? Then congratulations, you owe it your entire existence. Anyways, Eve is basically discharging off all the electricity contained within the mitochondria all at once. And as we know, electrical discharge equals heat, and heat equals spontaneous human combustion. Since that was a fruitless endeavor, we head back to the North Pole, where we learned that Melissa/Eve was supposed to have a solo concert in Central Park, but got cancelled on the account of, people bursting into flames. Because humans are humans, they decided to conjugate at the stage anyways, ignoring the possible damages. It's like 2020 all over again. Normally we'd ignore this little issue, but Daniel's ex-wife and son are headed to the concert, so now it's my problem, I guess. And Central Park showed me how underpowered I really am. Even the most basic enemies have turned into a chore. Unfortunately, this is the only area that spawns enemies now. I tried going back to Carnegie Hall to grind some levels, but just like real life, the police told me to fuck off, so I'm more or less trapped in this terrible zoo. I've seen an elephant fly and a monkey fuck a duck, but I've never seen some bullshit quite like this before. Thus begins my long, slow grind. As expected, level ups are very important. Every time I level up, all of my stats go up. HP, mana, even my inventory space, and how fast my attack bar fills. But the more interesting one is the bonus points. For every 100 bonus points I earn, I can allocate that into a stat of my choice, be it weapon damage or armor defense. The problem is every time you get hit, you earn less bonus points for that enemy. Since I'm going full melee, I get hit a lot and barely earn these points. So after grinding to level 13, I confront Eve at the amphitheater, where she turns the audience, including Daniel's ex-wife, into a fine tomato soup, but forgets the grilled cheese. Then she just floats off without giving me a fight, so I give chase. After sprinting through Central Park, I started to wonder where all the ducks went when the lake got all icy and frozen over. Did some guy in a truck take them away to a zoo or something? To curb those feelings of sadness and depression, I did some more grinding, and after getting to level 15, I decided I was ready to take on the New York bullworm. Okay, so I may have over-prepared for this fight. So there's 4 noodles that burrow in the ground. After one of them pops up, I have plenty of time to run up and whack it. They have this dirt ball they spit up that shoots out spikes once it hits the ground, but because I have to get up so close to them to deal damage, that attack usually misses me. For every worm I kill, another will increase in size, but once I've defeated 3 of them, the final one will transform into a mega worm. This is still pretty easy, but now it flails its entire body across the battlefield, making it impossible for me to not take damage. So I go back to the healing and face tank strategy. Once Jim goes down, I level up again and earn myself some nice defense ups for the drops. After that battle, Eve is just waiting for me. She tells me to take a ride on her one-horse open sleigh. Since it's Christmas, I'll take her up on the offer. Eve is so generous that she also delivers me a quick boss battle. She goes down so fast that I can't really comment on this fight. All she does is float around and scratches me a few times. Eve starts to ramble on about how my mitochondria was drawn to the opera, and even Aya is like, what the fuck are you going on about? The carriage goes out of control, knocking Aya out in the crash. This rattling of the brain has her once again dreaming about the little girl in the hospital, going from one bed to another. Now this is where the game tells one of the worst lies I've ever been told. And I quote, "Fortunately, most people are out of the city for Christmas." End quote. No. No, they aren't. This is Manhattan, one of the 5 boroughs of New York City. You know, New York City, the same city that has been the #1 most populated city in the United States since 1790. Yeah, that New York. Parasite Eve takes place in 1997, but it came out in 98. So just to get a rough estimate, I used the Y2K census. New York City had a population just over 8 million, and at the time, Manhattan made up 1.5 million of that population. That amount alone would make it the 5th most populated city in the United States at the time, beating out Philadelphia, Phoenix, San Diego, Dallas, San Antonio, and Detroit, just to name a few. And this is during Christmas. Are we just pretending that the Rockefeller Christmas tree isn't a tourist attraction? The 70-foot Norwood spruce that they put above the ice rink that year, being located in fucking Manhattan, would not draw people to this city, let alone the other few hundred attractions New York City probably has. So no, I don't think most people were out of the city for Christmas. But now that we're actually evacuating people out of the city, Magneto shows up out of nowhere just to stop this car from going out of control. With the streets of New York emptier than my stomach, in comes the Japanese scientist Maida. One police officer tries to give him a hard time, telling him that if he can't speak the language, then he needs to go back to his country. And like clockwork, that officer bursts into flames just for his display of racism. You know, Eve might be evil, but even she doesn't tolerate racism. Straight up smited that man. Maida scuttles off in the confusion, then somehow he and Daniel were able to find Aya after the crash. Your guess is as good as mine on that one. Maida then starts dropping some huge lore bombs. How something similar to this incident once happened in Japan years ago, but on a lesser scale. Eve has been developing over the years inside of a lady named Kiyomi. Eve used her influence over Kiyomi's body to cause her to fall asleep at the wheel, thus killing her in a car accident. Her husband Toshiaki, while under the influence of Eve's powers, cultured her liver cells, keeping them alive in a lab. Those liver cells rapidly multiplied, then formed a new body, one with the shape and look of Kiyomi, but with the mind of Eve. With her new form, to put it lightly, attacked her husband to acquire a sperm sample so that she may fertilize an egg. Now here's the real twist in the story. Before Before the accident, Kiyomi was influenced by Eve to register herself as an organ donor, and after the accident, one of her kidneys was transplanted into a young girl named Mariko. The Eve mitochondria within the kidney has been altering her body, making her a suitable host to give birth to the ultimate being. Eve implants this egg into Mariko, which rapidly develops and is immediately born. The ultimate being is born with a fatal flaw though. Being created with 2 lines of mitochondria means only 1 line can survive. This creates an internal war within the being, with both lines fighting for control over the body. This struggle ends up killing the ultimate being. Toshiaki then merges his body with the being's to control the combustion. Eve dies shortly afterwards as her new form and cells were never stable to begin with. Mariko lives on, free of the nightmare. So those events take place in a novel also titled Parasite Eve. Believe it or not, this game is the direct sequel to that very novel, and to my knowledge this is the only game that is a direct sequel to any novel. Aya is overwhelmed by this overload of information, then tells everyone to get the hell out while she takes a fat nap. The next day we get to action by looting some stores. Like a true American, Daniel shoots the door open to the gun shop, and inside we find the level 2 club, which I won't be using. Even though it comes with a cool item stealing perk, it unfortunately cuts my attack power in half, making it technically weaker than the basic club. I've already invested some bonus points into the damage of the base club, and even if I use a tool to transfer those stats over to the new club, the damage rounds out to 17, which is equal to the current club, and because of that half damage BS, I'd end up investing twice as many bonus points for half the payoff. I'll hold on to it, but I'm pretty sure by the time I can fix it, I'll have already acquired the level 3 club. After the looting, we get to scooting. Unfortunately, I have to head back over to the museum because Maida has an idea he wants to test out. By pulling some gel-like gunk off the back of Aya's clothing, then putting it under the microscope, we see that Aya and Eve have some fucked up looking mitochondria. Maida theorizes that Eve is trying to destroy all mitochondria with her cells, while Aya's own cells have evolved to rebel against that order. Before we can finish that thought, in comes Dr. Clamp, pissed off at our breaking and entering. While getting our asses chewed out, Daniel notices that his son and ex-wife's names are listed on Dr. Clamp's computer screen, with this list being for organ transplants. After getting kicked out, we head back to the lodge only to find out that Eve has attacked while we were away. Maida gives us a good luck charm, which to this day no one can prove if it actually does anything or not. Now it's time to get to work. I make my way downstairs to find Kathy injured on the ground. She tells me that the police dogs have gone berserk, and that Daniel's son Ben went chasing after one of them. Immediately we meet up with these new enemies, the Dogmen. These guys are kinda annoying that they have an AoE shockwave that's hard to avoid and makes me take increased damage. They're kinda fast, hit reasonably hard, but they give really good EXP. Next I hit up the pack mules to unload some items, only to find out that Torres has been killed by a giant Dogman while we were away. I continue my chase but keep finding myself one step behind Ben. Santa Claus, ever the saint, does his best to protect Ben, while Shiva goes through a horrific transformation. Continuing my counter-assault, I find the big bad wolf that killed Torres. I'm not locked in here with it, it's locked in here with me. This mini-boss hits way harder with its AoE, cutting my HP in half. At this point I'm pretty decent at dodging the attacks of Dogmen, with a few heals and just laying into it. It goes down pretty easy and Torres has been avenged. Finally at the top I arrive just in time to save Santa and Ben. But now we have to deal with the hardest boss so far, Shiva. This bitch has 3 heads that all need to be taken out in order to win. The problem is that her attacks have very little warning and sweep all across the screen. Her hyper beam just goes all over the place, so chances are I'm getting hit. Her roar cuts my HP in half, and there's no way to avoid it. I'm just getting fucked doggy style whether I like it or not. Anytime the roar happens, I'm forced to heal. There's a lunge attack that I just have to be lucky to dodge. The icing on the cake is the dog likes to walk itself, making it harder to hit, and combined with the club's slow wind-up speed, I either miss or take contact damage. I actually would have died twice, but I had the foresight to slap the auto heal perk onto my armor beforehand. Anytime my HP gets low, it'll use a medicine for my inventory, as long as the attack doesn't outright kill me. The worst part of this fight is that Shiva will occasionally heal one of her heads for 100 HP, which is just annoying as hell. This fight was starting to really drag on. Attacking one head at a time just wasn't getting me anywhere, so I mixed it up and started attacking each head at random. My logic was that she could only heal one head at a time, and whatever procs the heal would only happen after a certain amount of attacks. This tactic works wonders for me. I started standing in the middle of the room making sure my HP was high, and started wailing on this vile creature. After about 10 minutes of straight up ass, Shiva finally goes down for good. On day number 4 of this never-ending crisis, Maida uses his knowledge of the Japan incident to surmise that this attack was just a distraction. Like the original Eve, this one's body won't last much longer. In order for Eve to continue her plan to give birth to the ultimate life form, she goes to the sperm bank to make a withdrawal. Speaking of which, I have a personal emergency room story that I'll share after this video explaining why this challenge came out super late. At the hospital, Mida gives us another debatably useless Lucky Charm. I attempt to take the elevator up, but Eve does the old going down routine by cutting the cables, sending us to the bottom, then kills the power. I try to take the stairs back up, but Eve destroys that too. At this point, she's just going out of her way to be a petty bitch, but I respect it. Main objective here is to pick up 3 little fuses, pop them into the breaker, pair some wires, then turn the power back on. I take the elevator back up where the twins from The Shining are waiting for me, then they skedaddled off. I decided this lobby was a good spot for grinding some levels, since it spawns a bunch of enemies that give decent experience. I just hate how much they move around, it really pisses me off. After my grind session, we stumble upon the hospital room that Aya keeps seeing in her visions. Once we escape Memory Lane, Aya receives the green key card from the nurse, which we use to access the liquid nitrogen room. But uh-oh, we got another mini-boss, and this one wants revenge for my grinding antics. It's hard to deal with Blue Choo-Choo's jump attack, so we just tank it and damn, never mind. That went down super quick. We crank the valve to turn off the liquid nitrogen to unfreeze the sperm, I guess. I have no fucking clue. Taking the elevator up to the 13th floor leads us to more lore. The first piece is another patient records list, this time with the names Mariko and Mah-Dry-Bread, who both died December 23, 1977 from a car accident. The second piece being the successful operation of Melissa on that exact same day. And the third and final piece being Dr. Clamp's name being attached to the artificial sperm development staff. While we connect these dots in our head, the Navy begins to mobilize. Not the Navy! On the roof of the hospital, we encounter the next major boss, the Spider Woman. If I've said it once, I've said it 100 times. I hate spiders. I really do. The first hurdle of this fight is making sure Spider Girl doesn't go to this bottom right corner, because she can walk over the air conditioner, but for me, it's a solid object. Once I get her back into the middle, this fight turns into a straight up boxing match. We make our way around the ring, trading blows, going back and forth, with some light healing in between. After enough damage, we transition over to phase 2, which is the exact same fight, just on a smaller screen, so it's technically easier since she can't run too far away from me. Once I reduce her HP to 0, we both get into our positions and the hospital devours the spider like an angry god of vengeance. 20 paces to the west, we confront Eve, where she more or less complains about humanity, then pulls a classic, look at what they need to mimic a fraction of our power, only to liquefy the Navy pilots sent to take her out. Aya's all like, stop, please, no more. Eve hits the big LOL, what if I don't want to, then skedaddles off, leaving me to hop off the roof, landing on a conveniently placed scaffolding while the plane collides with the building. The spider boss returns just to cut the brakes. Wild card, bitches! Yeah! All I need to do is kill this regular spider to stop myself from reaching terminal velocity. After that ordeal, Daniel swings by to pick up the Scooby-Doo gang, tells Mida that he gets no bitches, and that Melissa was seen going to the museum late at night on several occasions. On the 5th day of Christmas, we head over to Chinatown instead of the museum we were just talking about for reasons I don't fully understand. But here we encounter by far the worst basic enemy. Cats. Just cats. These assholes are impossible to hit. By the time you get within range of one, they just run off. The only time I can actually deal some damage to them is when they use the red orb attack, which is just some bullshit, because 99% of the time, I'm gonna get hit by it. Thankfully, this street is the only place they spawn. At the end of the road, we find Mida, and he gives us another gift. That's a little version of me, Aya. I want you to have it. Since we found some Eve goop near the manhole cover, we head on down and I find one of the most important items for this run, the Super Tool. These bad boys let you move stats or abilities around without destroying the base item. Also, good god, I hate how slow the ladder climbing is in this game. I give my life, not for honor, but for you. To make up for that suffering, we get the almighty level 3 club. I move that shitty half damage perk over to the level 1 club, then slap that bonus damage onto the level 3 club, taking us from 22 damage all the way up to 51. Before we can test this bad boy out, we meet the audience from Central Park, and Aya graces us with another what the fuck is this? So we drain that shit from the reservoirs safely into the ocean so it doesn't infect the entire city. Further down, we make our way through a subway tunnel, only to encounter the worst boss so far, the Centipede. And bro, this thing is pure fucking cancer. I get to swinging and it hits me with the purple rain, which unfortunately poisons me, quickly ramping up the damage. After whacking it a few times, it spins right round, hitting me with the We Are Number 1. Now this is when the boss fight goes from easy to straight up annoying. I now have 4 targets to deal with at each circle around me. By the time I wind up my attack, they're long gone and I'm just hitting air. Then if anything hits or bumps into me, my attack gets delayed. So I'm cracking open my crystal ball trying to predict where they'll be before I attack. They actually proc the auto heal effect my armor quite a few times, and after taking out 3 of them, the fight actually gets worse. The remaining segment has 4 spots you can jump to, and the location I need to deal damage to is on its ass. so I pretty much have to get hit by it, and my HP is pretty low at this point. Then here comes another problem. If you use a lot of magic in a fight, there comes a point where the magic regen just slows to a crawl. At this point I'm trying to cower away from that centipede just to get in some heals. Then I had a genius idea. Before this fight I picked up an armor set that has a max HP up effect, so I slapped it on hoping it would give me some HP back. That idea didn't work out like I planned, but for some reason my magic started to regen at its normal rate. After all that I was finally able to get a hit in, but I found myself low on health once again. And just like before, my magic came to a crawl, so I swapped out my armor again. Lo and behold, it starts regenning my magic. This has to be a glitch. There's no way that this was intended. After pumping myself full of heals, I get the last hit needed on the centipede. Seriously, fuck that boss. Back up top we observe the Eve goop making its way to the museum. Man, it's wild to think there's gonna be a whole generation who don't know what those buildings are. After that we get the most awkward disc change in PlayStation 1 history. Yep, that was our cue to stick in the second disc. The most random location imaginable. Before we head over to the museum, I'm going to head over to the warehouse, which is the only optional area in the game. It doesn't add to the story, and in my opinion doesn't add anything to the game either. They try to make it sound important by saying Eve is there, but she isn't. They could have just said Eve was spotted around the location, and that I should probably go inside to make sure things are okay. Overall, this place just isn't worth the time. You just want to run inside, pick up this armor set, then leave. If you do go further inside, the enemies are fast, hit hard, and give absolutely garbage experience. The only cool part about this place is going down this rope. I like that shit. At the bottom of the warehouse, there's this giant enemy crab and you have to attack its weak spot for massive damage. There's only two things I need to watch out for in this fight. If I get hit by Krabby's bubble beam, it'll decrease my defense, but that's pretty easy to avoid by standing to the sides of him. The one that really scares the hell out of me is the laser eyes. Just pops them out the sockets, then blasts the ever-living hell out of me. Thankfully, it mostly uses the bubbles, which gives me plenty of time to break its arms off before laying in the real damage. To be honest, this is a pretty easy fight. After enough pussyfooting around, we finally head over to the Museum of Natural History. This whole area is super long, so you're getting the TLDR version of it. Upon entering, we start our pursuit for Dr. Clamp. Do you remember that plot point in Jurassic Park Lost World, where they were trying to ship the dinosaurs to San Diego? Well, they got a little off course and ended up in the Big Apple instead. Now, it does feel pretty badass just to slap some dinosaurs around with a club. I make my way up to the second floor, then take a ladder further up to continue my dino crisis. One thing I love about these enemies is how much EXP they give. It's just juicy. I found a busted window, jumped out that bitch, and ended back up on the second floor. She's fine. Here we find the security room and take a peep at Eve's OF video. After being absolutely disgusted by that sight, we turn off the alarms, then witness the goop from earlier reanimate a T-Rex skeleton. I guess this is kinda like Jurassic Park. On the way to my next objective, I catch Mida praising the sun. Then he passes me a literal Chekhov's gun, starts lore dumping about how Dr. Clamp has been culturing the liver cells of Aya's sister, and how he created nut with no mitochondria in it. Then, just like a 90s sitcom, in comes Dr. Clamp. And of course he's all salt and vinegar at us, then tries to give Aya a fresh stab wound, but out of nowhere in comes Big Dick Daniel with the second meanest right hook this side of Manhattan has to offer. Bro is going 2 for 2 with these knockouts. With Sleepy Clamp back awake, he says, "You'll love this.
Give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire. Ooh.
Rest in piss, bozo." With Dr. Strangely Stupid out the way, we nab his key, then get back to exploring. I immediately bump into I was gonna call this a Triceratops, but it only has 2 horns and a set of tusks. Fuck it, it's a Biceratops. Either way, this shit is annoying. The only part that takes damage is the head, and this fat sack of fossilized shit likes to walk around, making it harder to hit than you'd think. So I have to run ahead of this thing and prep my attacks in advance. Sometimes it'll charge at me, and with how big it is, I keep taking contact damage. Once the skull takes enough damage, we enter phase 2, and this Biceratops starts spazzing out, charging all over the place, and shooting freaking laser beams all over the place. Thankfully, with its skull removed, it does take increased damage. But before I can officially kill it off, the Biceratops throws in a Hail Mary and ramps me out the window. Originally I wrote down a rant about how Aya should be dead for falling from the 3rd story floor with a dinosaur landing on her, but if we slow down the footage we see her grab onto the leg, thus breaking her fall. Definitely a blink and you'll miss it moment. But what you won't miss is me literally getting thrown into the next boss fight against the king of the dinosaurs, and this big ass goofy motherfucker comes hopping down from the top ropes. He heard me talking shit and decided to roast my ass back, and good fucking god that attack does a lot of damage. After healing up, he just stands there and lets me play the xylophone on his ribcage, but then he gives me the old baptism by fire once again. I even tried running behind him but still ended up getting clipped. After some more bone whacking, Chomper jumps up to reorientate himself. Now with his pearly whites facing the screen, I can easily dodge his fire blasts by staying in this top left corner. Then the fight just got hella easy for some reason. Bro just forgot he was a Tyrantrum and kept trying to hit me with that giraffe-rigged twin beam. Call that shit 007. 0 accuracy, 0 damage, and 7 straight misses. With Tyranno Hasselberry and his Dino DNA out the way, we can finally make our way up to the 4th floor and confront the newly knocked up Eve. Just like a real single mother, she doesn't have time for my bullshit. So she starts water bending and oh my god. Hell yeah, perfect chaos. This human slurry comes crashing in just to whisk away his snow bunny queen, so we hop in the black and white with the boys, then give chase. This is where Mida drops some more lore bombs. The operation that Melissa got on the day Mariko and Maya died was for an organ transplant where she received Maya's kidney housing the second Eve. The doctor doing the operation that day was none other than Hans Clamp himself. In order for the body to accept the new organ, Melissa had to take those immunosuppressants I brought up at the start of the video. With the Eve's influence growing over time, she eventually became strong enough to take over Melissa's physical body, leading us to the Carnegie Hall incident. Meanwhile, the Navy takes flight, and like true Americans they start blasting, but this thing counters with the Fox down B, sending that shit off course. With that display of American freedom, the Navy touched down just to pick us up, then fly us over to the USS Nimitz. Navy's plan is pretty simple. Since Aya is the only one who can get close to Eve without burning up, they want her to get into a helicopter, fly to Liberty Island, then nuke the bitch. Daniel, being the only sane man in the room, points out that Aya doesn't know how to fly a helicopter. Well, that's no problem because the Navy has it set for A to auto, and A for Aya. The only issue is that the missile needs to be fired at close range, which I think is bullshit. You have a whole helicopter with autopilot but couldn't do the same with the missiles? I just think we had better solutions. Probably could have hit her with a couple Predator missiles. B-52 Spirit Bomber, or hell, even an AC-130 would have put the fear of God into her.
Enemy AC-130 above!
I think it just gave anyone who played Modern Warfare 2 back in the day a PTSD flashback. So with this brilliant plan getting the green light, Mida tries to give Aya one more gift, but it's go time. Straight from the Hudson we low fly with the convoy past the Chrysler building, then the Empire State Building, around the MetLife Tower, and between the oh no. God, that did not age well. Now that the target is within range, we switch over to formation number 2. The convoy acts as shields, allowing Aya to get within firing range, nuking this gelatinous monster right in the face with Liberty Island heavily damaged, but of course, Eve still lives. After swan diving to the best night of our life, we confront Eve for the final time. So Eve has 3 sections that all need to be destroyed. I start the fight off by testing the waters, and by testing the waters I mean running in, face tanking Eve, then going to the club. My damage output is pretty great, but Eve is really laying in the pain. Hands down, the hardest part about this fight is avoiding Eve's grab attacks. Those hands come in 4 malicious flavors. Red that reduces you to a single hit point, then causes my auto heal to activate. Blue that hits twice and gives me the defense down debuff. Yellow that hits 3 times, then causes confusion, which makes me run in random directions. And finally we have white that just hits you 4 times like a truck. Thankfully I have a huge arena to run around in, so I switched over to a hit and run strategy. Bop her once, pray she doesn't get me with a grab attack, then run back in. Thing is, Eve doesn't like you getting too far away from her. And if you do, she'll either fire a few easy to dodge energy volleys, or a wide sweeping needle blast that can hit multiple times. I just had to find my rhythm of attacking, dodging, and healing off my mistakes, but after a legit 13 minutes of fighting, Eve finally goes down. But this is a Square Enix game, and just like any other Square Enix boss, she enters phase 2. After doing her best Millennia transformation, we get back to scrapping. And you know what? I was actually having fun. At this point, we're just going bar for bar. In this phase, Eve is fast as hell, but she has way less HP compared to her previous form. She zooms all around the battlefield, only stopping to attack me. Luckily for me, she's mostly restricted to melee attacks, which lets me constantly trade blows with her. She is capable of binding or poisoning me with those same attacks, but they don't pose too much of a problem. After trading enough hits, Eve hops off the screen to launch an energy spear that explodes on the ground, causing defense down if I'm caught within the AoE. Hands down the coolest looking attack in the game if you ask me. Thankfully I learned about that armor swap glitch because it plays a huge role in these long back-to-back fights. Legit saved me a bunch of time from leveling up and gathering supplies. But sadly for Eve, that is all she wrote. Not being able to comprehend how she lost, she hits us with that JJK natural enemy bullshit. With Eve's mitochondria fully exhausted from the battle, she gets the Judge Doom treatment. After that ordeal, we get some downtime to talk with our friends. Even Wayne made his way here. He lets us pick a weapon and armor set to be used as our starting gear in future playthroughs, so that's pretty neat. Stepping back outside, the boat begins rocking, while we bear witness to the Orphan of Cause being born. Boy got it looking like Pearl Harbor out here. With that over-the-top gender reveal out the way, the ultimate life form is finally born. The entire squad evacuates via helicopters with Aya staying behind, but not before Mida tries to give Aya one last gift, but now's not the time. Baby New Year is here and he's fucking pissed. Sadly, little dude goes down in a few swings, and Aya finds herself with multiple cases of child abuse. Oh shit, bro went to summer camp and came back with that growth spurt. Phase 2 starts off easy, just stay on top of him and 99% of his attacks will miss. The real annoyance happens after you deal enough damage. The ultimate being detaches its wings, creating a separate enemy. Thankfully only the main body needs to be destroyed, but trust me, those wings are annoying as hell. The way this fight goes down now is that the ultimate being will constantly run away, and only attacks when you're far enough away from it. On the other hand, the wings will either charge up with lightning to ram you 3 times in a row, or just shoot you with energy balls. Sometimes you'll get lucky and the ultimate being will go in for a melee attack, while you chase him down letting you trade blows. Most of the times I had to wait for him to fire an energy beam to wail on him. Once again, God bless this armor swap glitch, because the damage here really starts to stack up. And after enough boy chasing, I deliver the final hit and bro explodes like a Power Ranger villain. Now we get thrown into round 3 versus Ultimate Cars, or should I say James and the Giant Peach. Just look at that fat monkey. Why does he have a 2-foot tall nutsack on his ass? This is the ideal male body. You may not like it, but this is what peak performance looks like. Thankfully in this phase, every time he moves locations, he'll stay in that spot for a decent amount of time. Whenever he jumps into these corners for an energy volley, I can stand underneath him to take 0 damage, which lets me lay in the pain while I play the drums on that fat ass. But he still has some nasty attacks up his sleeves. The worst two being the grab attack he stole from his mother that also drops me to 1 HP, and the one where he summons up the Seal of Orichalcos, then nukes the entire battlefield. That shit hits for well over a third of my entire health, and the lower his HP goes, the more he loves to spam it. But after enough bonking of the bongos, the ultimate being finally goes down for sweet spaghetti flingin' fuck, he is still evolving. Phase 4, I don't even know what the hell this thing is anymore. Some eldritch abomination of a god whose entire existence offends me. But you want to know what the worst part of all this is? That absolutely pisses me off. This squid face fuck only takes 1 damage per hit and has 8,000 health, all while I get popcat blasted by these little bejeweled thingamabobs. Sadly, even the strongest weapons in the game would only hit for 1 damage, and there's only one way to remedy this. So remember a little while ago when Maida was trying to give us one last gift? Turns out they were bullets fused with Aya's cells. Not sure how that works, and we're not going to question it. With only one way to deliver these bullets, Big Dick Daniel leaps out the goddamn helicopter with no parachute, gets his mitochondria set on fire, then chucks the magazine with precision the likes of which this world has never seen before. What a goddamn legend. Now with this special ammo on deck, they literally forced that Chekhov's gun into my hand. Since the lowest damage these bullets can deal is 999, the kid squid goes down very quick. I'll say that this challenge was successful by technicality, since the game forces that upon me, but what do you think? You know, it's kinda sad to see this thing go. We watched its entire life before our very eyes. All it ever knew was pain, loneliness, and suffering. No love, no joy, or belonging. Oh well, time for phase 5. We need to find something on this ship to get rid of the ultimate being once and for all. And the only option lies within the engine room. This escape scene is scary as fuck, I don't care what anyone says. This squid will give you an instant game over if it touches you. Even if you're in the dialogue boxes, he still slithers towards you. The last save was before he was even born, so I'm avoiding that death touch like the plague. There's multiple dead-end paths, go down any of those and you're screwed. I made sure to memorize the path for my first playthrough though. Finally in the boiler room we crank that bitch to max, letting the pressure build up. I waste no time running away, out the final hallway and leaping into the ocean while the ship gracefully explodes, taking the ultimate life form down with it. Back on land we learned a part of Maya was inside of Aya the entire time. Aya was born with a defect in her right eye, then got her replaced with Maya's, which is how we got these powers and why we were having all those weird hospital visions after encountering Eve. After 6 days of hell we come back full circle where our journey began, finally watching Hamlet with her closest friends. Wait a second, how are these two actors still alive? We literally watched them burn to death at the start of the game. Anyways, this is normally the part of the video where I'd say I've beaten the challenge, but that'd be incorrect. I'm gonna go the extra mile just because I hate myself, but I like you. After beating the game, you get access to 2 things. EX mode, better known as New Game Plus, and the 77th floor super dungeon, the Chrysler building. Waiting on the top floor is the true final boss of the game. Because I'm mentally insane, I beat the game 3 more times on EX mode, and on this 5th and final playthrough I stopped at the very end of the museum, right before you confront Pregnant Eve. If I would've went straight to the Chrysler building when I unlocked EX mode, I would've gotten destroyed. Thankfully you start off each playthrough of EX mode with whatever gear you chose to engrave back on the ship. All items that were in storage carry over, but you start off at level 1 each time. Enemies do have slightly increased health, but in return they give more bonus points, which I was in desperate need of. Also in EX mode, the end of each day gives you a big lump sum of bonus points. That increases with each passing day. The sole purpose of doing all those extra playthroughs was to increase my damage and defense, while also stocking up on super tools. I did this entire section reaction live, so I hope you don't mind me mixing in some live commentary alongside the script. There is no map for the Chrysler building because every floor's layout is randomly generated. This place is basically the back rooms before they were invented. Each hallway is filled with depressing shades of browns and tans. Every floor has the same disorientating maze-like structure, where your only goal is to find the loot rooms, then go up the stairs. The music does not change until you go up 10 floors. You will listen to the same soundtrack for hours and hours, whether you like it or not. This place is just boring as fuck, and feels purposely built to drive you insane. I activated a triple speed up command just to get this shit over with faster. Every 10 floors you get a short break from insanity, and by a break I mean a boss battle. Oh? Is this a boss? Is this something different? Oh my god, that's 10 floors. Floor number 10's boss was a rehash of the hospital spider. Each boss gives me an elevator key that lets me travel back to my previously completed set of 10 floors. Floor number 16, I found the much stronger level 4 club. Oh my god, there she is. And on floor 20, I bumped into an alligator duo. Fucking finally, Jesus Christ. Okay, I don't even know what boss this is. After that fight, I left the building to perk out the new club, then I went straight back to hell. Floor 30 throws the full sequence of the Centipede at me. Oh, hey, it's the boss. Oh no, it's the Centipede. Great. I actually don't like this boss. I hate this dumbass roulette fucking shit I have to play. That is why I do not like this boss. Alright. It's like the one boss I hate, 'cause it's like I have to attack it before I know what it's going to do. Best thing to do is just hunker down, and there we go. You know, they called Eve a monster for melting all those people, but like, whatever the hell she did to the Chrysler building, I think it's far worse. Like, this is just diabolical. Then floor 40 is just a buffed up version of the museum Triceratops. What the... Oh, Triceratops. I actually was kind of confused what the hell this was. Alright, still weak, but I definitely took damage. Finally, at floor 50, we get a new boss that was an actual threat, the Cockroach. First part of the fight is pretty easy. It uses its antennas as whips, which hit me for 0 damage. But after lowering its HP, it gives birth, then takes to the skies. The hell? Fucking, whoa. Okay, that's actually some damage. Alright, do not take this thing lightly up here, I see. The newly born roach quickly matures, having the same stats as its mother. Problem is, even though the whip attack doesn't hurt me, it still stops my attack animations, which lets the flying cockroach hit me pretty hard with the poison bomb, all while the grounded one scuttles off. This combo was enough to proc the auto heal on my armor, so I actually had to lock in and watch my health. Did I actually die? What? Let's not fuck around here. God, fuck. Okay, that is just annoying. So by the time I can hit one, the other one just tells me to go fuck myself. Stupid scuttling fuck. Oh my fucking god. What? Okay, cool. Jeez, he was about to shit out another one. If you're gonna lock me in a room with 2 cockroaches, you better put fucking Giselle and Pheromosa in there for the love of God. I will come out pregnant. Now we're at the point where some basic enemies aren't dying to a single hit, and they actually deal a little damage to me, but in return they start giving me better items and experience. Unfortunately, these floors have hands down the most annoying enemy in the game. These fucking squirrels. These furry little bastards scurry around fast, hit way too hard, and have a huge cone of fire. If you get hit by it, and trust me, you will, it'll confuse Aya, which more or less inverts and randomizes the walking controls. So even if I want to hit them, I can't. What pisses me off even more is that they give no experience, and if they're left at low HP for a few seconds, they'll just run away. Just a complete waste of time, and they can easily end your run if you're not careful. Before the next boss, I got the worst floor layout ever. I actually got lost and had to make a rough map to figure out where the hell I was. And here it is. Once I found my path, I was put up against another giant enemy crab on floor 60. The only thing special about this crab versus the regular one is that it moves twice as fast and hits harder. It's the same exact fight, so I won't bore you with this one. Okay, that was easy. Now, floor 61 blessed me with both the level 5 club and the ceramic armor number 2, aka the best weapon for this challenge and the best armor set. I immediately went back to Santa's workshop and perked those bitches out. For the club, we have quick draw, which starts me off with a full action bar, critical rate up, and item stealing. And for the armor set, I slapped on increased max HP, increased damage, auto healing, resistance to confusion, blindness, stun, poison, and added 4 extra pockets. This armor set was so immaculate, Wayne told me to put a name on it. Back at the building, the floors remain ever the same. The EXP rates are so high now that I get a level up almost every fight. On floor 70, we encounter the boss I've been dreading the most, the Queen Bee. People talk about her in the way you would Moby Dick, and many people say she's even harder than the true final boss of the game. All my preparations have honestly been for this moment. Biggest saving grace here is that she is a stationary target who throws out honey blades and boomerangs. One thing that does make this fight harder than it should be is her infinite army of worker bees that interrupt my attacks while healing her. At this point my DPS is through the roof and I take out the worker bees when I get a chance. Towards the end of the fight I did get a little worried. The bee whooped out that 9 ropes polarized light crow and declaration between front and back hollow purple and completely blasted my ass. But no, I was fine. 2 more whacks and she goes down for good. I realized I was way stronger than I expected and may have over-prepared for this tower. I ended up on 666 health. I don't know if that's a sign of things to come. I enter this building at level 38, 450 damage on the club, and now I'm level 80 rocking 600 damage. With my confidence at an all-time high, I arrive at the final floor, where we meet our sister Maya, or should I say the purebred Eve that the good doctor cultured himself. Thankfully, the final fight takes place on a small screen, with Eve stopping a brief second before she skedaddles off. What's even better is my defense is so damn high, I dead-ass take 0 damage from Eve's basic attacks. But the real wall in this fight is getting past Eve's 40,000 health, plus Maya coming in to heal her, and these heals are a major problem. They start off at 1000 HP and increase by another 1000 every time it's used. Then she has one ultimate attack where she charges up like a DBZ character that rams the hell out of me, reducing me to 1 HP, which activates the honey pack, bringing me back to full HP. On the other hand, that big attack tuckers her out, letting me get in a few nice bonks on the head. This fight really drags on, and sadly once I got to the 8000 heal mark, I realized this fight was just a slow war of attrition between an unstoppable force and an immovable object. We can both infinitely heal, and neither one of us can outdamage the other. So I did the pro gamer move of reloading an old save, then dumping all my bonus points into damage, bringing me up to 649. And this rematch starts off terrible. Turns out that energy shot has some enemy lag that you can run into, basically knocking yourself out twice. So if my math is correct, with approximately 620 damage being subtracted by the square root of her health, the crits adding around another 930 difference to my hypotenuse means I have no clue what the fuck I'm talking about. But one thing I am certain about is that Eve is going down this round. Besides one attack and contact damage, she can't hurt me, so I go all in on the offense, but out of nowhere Eve does a kickflip, knocking my ass out. But little did she know I'm stocked up on revives, letting me continue this fight, then right before Eve does another heal, I send her off to the Shadow Realm. And with that, I have officially beaten Parasite Eve multiple times over with just clubs, and I even got the true ending for the first time in my life. Special shout out to MantisGreen for keeping me company during all these playthroughs. They were legit a huge help with theory crafting this challenge. Then a big shout out to RPG Shrines for their detailed walkthrough and item charts, and another for the Parasite Eve fandom wiki for their item location maps. I'll get the Shields Only DLC video done next, I just needed a break from all the Souls games. Then I guess it's time for that hospital story, so feel free to laugh at me. So on the same day I released the first Shields Only video, I ended up having to go to the ER. Long story short, I had an erection for over 48 hours. That was causing me a lot of discomfort with the pain radiating all the way down to my lower back. And before anyone asks, no, I didn't take any medication or pills to cause this. I just woke up like that and I assumed it would go away on its own. So I was pretty embarrassed about it and I didn't want to go to the ER because it seemed silly to me. But I was talking into going, and once I got there, they took me in pretty quick. So if you ever have this problem, they basically have to drain the blood out of it. And I'm gonna put a little graphics warning for this, so if you don't want to hear the rest of the story, just skip to the end. So the doctors gave me a little bit of ketamine before drawing the blood out, and I was so out of my mind I couldn't feel anything. All I knew is that they were sticking needles into the side of my dick to drain the blood out. Sadly, they did this to me twice and neither time worked because I waited so long to come in that the blood had gotten too thick to draw out. They did get a little bit out, but not enough to fix the problem completely. So they told me I have to stay overnight and get surgery in the morning, so I'm just like, okay, I guess. The surgery was then putting a shunt inside of my penis vein. Basically, they created an artificial channel to redirect blood flow. The day after the surgery, I was allowed to go home. I also got 2 weeks off of work to heal up, and I did try to start working on this video during that time, but I legit could not sit in a chair for long periods of time. And then when I was able to, I couldn't focus because of the medication I was given. Like, honest to God, I was just in pain, like, could barely walk for those 2 weeks. Overall, I've been fine since the surgery. I get the occasional pinching feeling, but other than that, no real problems or issues. It's been almost 5 months since then. Only thing that pissed me off was my insurance did not cover the full bill, so I ended up having to pay a little over $3,600 out of pocket, which thankfully I had in savings. The takeaway from this story is to make sure you have health insurance, and if you have an erection lasting more than 2 hours, go to the damn hospital. They deal with these things more than you'd think, so don't be embarrassed. Like, honestly, I'm just glad I got to keep it, and it still kinda works. But that's about it, and I'm really sorry that this one took so long. Like always, I appreciate anyone who made it this far and took the time out of their day to check out the video. You can follow me on Twitter or Blue Sky if you prefer, and while you wait for the next challenge, check out some of the older challenges if you haven't seen them already. We're also replaying the Pokemon games with bad teams if that's your thing, and we recently finished our playthrough of Slay the Princess, which gets a solid 10 out of 10 from me. But until then, take it easy, and I hope to see you in the next one.